And welcome to Small Business Today Magazine Talk Show
On the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
Yes, we're back, and after some technical difficulties way beyond our control, thanks to the techno gods, we are on a few minutes late, but that's okay.
And thanks to my son, Jerome Davis, our technician,
All right.
we are back on track.
That's right. And I'm Steve Levine. I'm executive publisher of Small Business Today Magazine.
I'm Barbara Davis-Levine, associate publisher, creative director, editor, and that and a box of crackers.
Head writer
Yeah.
and event coordinator, and what else do you do? I forget. Anyway, there's not enough room in the magazine for all your titles. Yes, we do it all. Putting out a beautiful magazine with a cover honoree. It comes from nomination by a Publisher Advisory Board member and a vote. And the criteria for the cover honor has more to do with the quality of the individual than it does with the particular quantity of their sales. What car they drive, how much money they make, we really don't care. It's about philanthropy first, an inspiring story second, and someone who's a role model for this and future generations of entrepreneurs. In the magazine is a lot of terrific columns. None are self-promotional. They're all educational columns of no more than 600, 700 words that we make sure meet our editorial guidelines to the T. And there are no press releases, no promotions. And if it says promotes any company, product, or service, we don't use it.
No infomercials.
Unless it's a paid profile, that's a whole other deal.
Right.
So, magazine, you can find them online, all the back issues, at sbtmagazine.net.
Or smallbusinessadaymagazine.com.
That's right, and all of our radio shows are archived there. We don't do them every day like we used to, or even every other day, but we do them when it's something special. And today we have
And we
a
have
very
something
special
very
show.
special today.
Very special show today. So tell us about it, Barbara. Who's our
We've
guest?
got Jonathan Horton, who is a gymnast, has gone to the Olympics multiple
Two-time
times.
silver medalist.
Two-time silver medalist, and he's from Houston, Texas. And he has accomplished a lot. American Ninja Warrior, amazing individual. And even with injuries that should have put him out of any athletics, he is back, and now he's written a book.
Yes, well, I'm excited to be here with you guys. This is a lot
We're
of fun.
excited to have you.
Well, I'm just excited that we got everything to work, because you're right, the technical difficulties.
Sometimes it's just that way.
It's like crazy.
Sun, the moon, the stars, and the internet. It's not.
You know,
But here we are.
There we are.
You know, I always believe there's another plan, that even if we're late for something, it may be God's plan that we should be late, or we would have been involved in a car accident.
Couldn't agree more.
You know, so we just go
But
with the flow.
we're together now. Jonathan has achieved some amazing success in gymnastics, and it didn't come without a price,
That's right.
without injury, and even at an early age, his mother knew that he was bound for greatness.
I want to ask him to tell what
Go ahead,
happened.
tell that story about the target.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is everybody's favorite story, and it's
Oh, it's
probably
mine for sure.
probably my favorite one to share. So I was a really rambunctious kid. I always tell everybody I was that ADHD kid that was running around with the monkey backpack and the leash. Have you ever seen one of those kids?
He and I handcuffed each other. I handcuffed him to me.
Well, yeah, same thing,
Yeah,
right? And so
yeah.
I was just a crazy kid, and so when I was 4 years old, my mom took me to a Target, and I didn't have the monkey backpack with the leash on this one day, and she lost me in the middle of the store. I just took off. She couldn't find me. Anyways, 5 minutes goes by, nothing. 10 minutes goes by, and if you know my mom, she's not the best under like stressful situations, and she starts panicking.
Sure.
And the entire store is searching for me. Anyways, the manager finally comes up to her and says, "Ma'am, calm down. I found your son," and he pointed straight to the ceiling. And there was a support beam in the middle of the store that was around 25 feet to the ceiling. And I wrapped my arms and legs around it, and I bear crawled all the way to the top. And I was just hanging out up there. I didn't know I had done anything wrong. Now, I have this little memory
4 years old.
of being at the top of the pole thinking, hey, this is fun. But other than that, I don't remember actually doing it. And so my mom says I came down Didn't know I'd done anything wrong. She went home that night and told my dad about it. My dad basically was like, wow, our son's a freak. We should put him in gymnastics. And so that's how I got started.
Just like
Isn't that
that.
funny?
Yeah.
How old were you when you started gymnastic program?
You
Well,
said
so
4.
I was 4 when that happened, and they enrolled me the very next day
Holy
into a
moly.
gym. They found a little recreational gym, and they put me in, and it was just love at first sight. I mean, anyone that's ever done gymnastics, you know, flipping into the foam pits and swinging on the rings, the high bars, the ropes, such a blast. And I feel so thankful and so much gratitude that I was able to find something that I was so passionate about and that I loved at such a young age, because not everybody does. It's one of the things that I chat with so many people about. I have people come up to me, they're like, you're so passionate, I can't find my passion. And I was reading a book one time, I can't remember what the book was, and the idea behind it was that some people are hummingbirds and some people are jackhammers. And I actually write about it in my book.
All right.
And hummingbirds, they kind of just float around from different things, trying to figure out what it is that they want to do. And they can never really find that one thing that a jackhammer can just hammer at forever and just break through and keep getting deeper and deeper. And I'm a jackhammer. I found that one thing and I just kept going. But you know what? Hummingbirds are beautiful and they live beautiful lives. But I believe everyone's life deserves a good search for that thing that they can just hammer at over and over again and forever.
That's it. But it wasn't kind to you as a sport for a long time, was it?
Well,
Go
before
ahead.
you get into the injuries and
I'm
stuff,
sorry.
let's talk about how he got there.
All right,
So,
go
I
ahead.
mean, you're just going out as non sequitur and everything all over the place.
That's me.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Like
Let's-
hummingbird.
He's a
I'm all over it.
hummingbird.
He's a
over here.
higher here.
Go ahead, Barbara. You do it best.
Okay, so you were in gymnastics,
Mhm.
and were you recognized ever by a local, well-known gymnast group that trained people for the Olympics, or was it just regular amateur local mom pa shop gymnastic?
Yeah, so no, it's a great question. So when I was 6, I like to say that I was discovered at 6 years old. And I was not the most gifted and talented kid in the world. Again, I'll go back to I was super rambunctious, bouncing off the walls, and my very first coach that I ever had, he was a 2-time Olympian from the late 60s and early 70s, a guy named Jim Colhane. And I remember this like yesterday. I called him Mr. Jim. Mr. Jim sat me down, and he looked at me, and he said, John, you are driving me crazy. And he said, but I see something special in you, and I'm going to tell you something right now. And what he said was so profound, I can remember the exact words, and it just stuck with me, and it gave me hope. He said, you know, John, I can't promise you're ever going to become an Olympian. I just can't. But he said, I can make you one promise. He said, in a sport like this, where most people quit before they even become teenagers, he said, if you simply stick with this sport, and you give it everything you got every single day, and you stay with it for the long haul till you're in college and beyond. He said, I can't promise you're going to become an Olympian or a world team member or a national team member, but I can promise you that you will finish your career great. And that's all I needed to know. I just needed to hear that. And so I like to say he discovered my passion and my energy. And when he told me that, the rest is history.
Where was his gym?
So it was in, let's see, North Houston, actually, and the gym was called Colhane's Gymnastics. It's no longer there anymore. Jim Colhane is still coaching.
Was it by 1960?
1960 in Cutton Road.
Right.
Yeah,
I
you remember.
that.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. So I was there until I was 9 years old.
Yeah, I remember that gym very much. So he went to a school all the way out that way at one point.
Yeah.
We were trying to find a place for
It
him.
was a great place, and you know, Jim Colhane produced a lot of great gymnasts, and you know, I feel very fortunate to have had him kind of discover me and push me in the way he did, because he, as a young kid, he pushed us hard. And I remember leaving some of my practices with tears in my eyes, thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. Mr. Jim is too hard on me, but I just couldn't get that idea out of my head. If I just stick with it, I'm going to be great. And I've got a shot at becoming an Olympian. Who knows? And that idea just drove me every day.
Did it help you to get scholarships to college or anything like that?
Did Jim Colhane specifically?
No, just gymnastics.
Oh, yeah. So I got a full scholarship to the University of Oklahoma. And let's see, my freshman year at OU was 04, 05. And, gymnastics was, of course, growing up and doing the sport for so long, I wanted to become an Olympian. But I definitely was thinking, if I never became an Olympian, it would be really great to get a full scholarship.
Right.
That's not something to be sad about at all. And so when I received that scholarship, my parents were ecstatic. I was super pumped, and I was well on my way to the elite level. And that was just icing on the cake for my career.
Marvelous. Steve, you have a question?
Well, you're doing good.
Oh, okay. well, you can ask that question later as we get a little farther away. So, before you hit college, though, had you accomplished any medals or of any sort by then?
Yeah, so I was very slow to succeed. It took me a really long time to kind of learn the ropes of gymnastics, and I don't know if it's because I was just a notoriously slow learner, or if I just wasn't the strongest, wasn't the fastest kid around. I left a lot of competitions with absolutely nothing. No medals, no ribbons, no trophies. And it wasn't until I was nearly 16 years old that I finally started breaking through and winning some stuff. And one of the first big competitions I ever won was right here in Houston, Texas. It was a meet called the Ricky DC Invitational. And I remember standing on top of the awards podium, having that gold medal placed over my neck, and I was like, wow, this stuff is actually starting to work. 12 years later, I'm finally starting to win something here.
Yay.
And so it's like I broke through and I started winning competition after competition. And then before college, I became a junior national champion. I made a couple senior competitions with some of my heroes. I got to go to the Dominican Republic in 2003 for the Pan American Games, where we won the bronze medal. Team USA won the bronze medal. That was like my really first big accomplishment in the sport. And then, really I didn't hit big until college and beyond.
And then didn't you have something totally go wrong for you at one of your, was it the Olympics or a competition? There was something.
Well, there's a lot of those. When it comes to elite competition, my very first world championships was an absolute disaster. And like I said, at the age of 16, it's like I steadily grew at a snail's pace. And then at 16, I just took off. And when I was 20 years old, I was a sophomore in college at OU. And I made the world championship team, which is, in gymnastics, the world championships it's the equivalent to the Olympics. It's just not an Olympic year. And what a lot of people don't know is there's actually more competitors at the Worlds than there are at the actual Olympic Games. And so when I made the world team, myself and 5 other guys, I was so amped up because it's basically a stepping stone. Like, if you can make this, you can become an Olympian. And so in my mind, I was like, wow, like I finally have broken through. I can do this. And I remember rallying my team around me. And I was like, guys, we're about to go to the World Championships. We're going to Aarhus, Denmark, which we were supposed to compete. And I told my whole team, I was like, we're about to become world champions. We're about to win all these medals. Everyone's going to know who we are. We're a young group. We're energetic. We're on fire. And then we get to the World Championships, and I led my team to the worst performance in the history of USA men's gymnastics. My whole team did their job. And they did what they were supposed to do, what they trained to do, and then there was me. I fell 6 times. And leading up to that competition, no team before had ever placed as poorly as we did. We got 13th place. And still to this day, no team has ever done that bad.
Well, if you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah, go big or go home, right? And so, right now, I still hold the title of most falls at a major international world event for any gymnast from the United States. And
was that with the rings? What was that particular falls that you're falling?
Oh, I fell on almost every event. It wasn't just one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I started out on the floor and I fell, and then I went to the pommel horse and I fell again. I actually made my ring routine, but then I fell on vault, I fell on parallel bars, I fell on high bar a couple times, and I don't know why the coaches didn't pull me out of the competition, other than the fact that there's a rule that states can't pull a competitor out unless they're injured. I wasn't hurt.
Oh.
They probably were like, somebody hurt him.
Yeah.
But don't you think perhaps there was an unknown issue going on that maybe hadn't come to the forefront that caused that?
Oh, no, I think that I let my foot off the gas pedal. 100%.
That's all it was.
I think that it's one of the chapters that I write about in my book. I call it the champion's trap. And I think so often in our lives, our careers, we rise to the top, and I was the best gymnast in the United States in 2006 when I made the World Championships. And once I became the best, I thought, okay, the work is done. I don't need to do anything else. I'm ready. I'm here. I'm gonna go to the World Championships. I'm gonna win some stuff, and then 2 years later, I'm gonna go to the Olympics, and it's all gonna be great. And I just totally let my foot off the gas pedal. I got stuck in this trap of thinking, I've done all I need to do, and I'm gonna ride the wave. I'm just gonna coast through. And when I got to the World Championships, the magnitude of the situation hit me. I realized I wasn't as prepared mentally or physically or emotionally as I needed to be. And when the bright lights came on, cameras in my face, and I'm looking at the judges, I panicked. And it came down to my attitude, my arrogance. I was cocky. I thought I was ready and prepared. And that was the most important moment of my entire gymnastics career, because it taught me major wake-up call, reality check, and for me to realize the work is never done. You're never good enough. And I now have my goal is to constantly pursue perfection, knowing I'm never going to get there. Because the moment you tell yourself you're good enough and you're perfect, that's when the world comes crashing down and you make a fool of yourself. And that's what I did at the World Championships, and I learned from that moment, because 2 years later I went to the Olympic Games and had the greatest performance of my entire life. And I don't think that would have happened unless I had done what I did 2 years earlier.
And you know, that's like with anybody in business. It's yourself, you were your own business, but any person that's become a cover honoree of ours, they all had to stay on top of the game. Some people make the mistake, they get to a point in their business, they think they're great, they don't revise their business plan, things change, whatever, they start not being the ones that are competitive, streaking, that's when businesses go out of business.
Absolutely.
So that's an analogy for anybody in
business.
Yeah,
I think that there is such a great relationship between elite athletics and the business.
Yes.
And you hear about so many athletes that go up and down, and it's the same thing with business. As soon as a company thinks we're on top, we've got it all figured out, that's when another company shows up that's hungry, that's putting in the work, and they look at that company and go, you're done, we're going to overtake you because you're not doing what's necessary to evolve. And you have just completely let off the gas pedal and you think you're good enough? Watch this.
I had a mentor, good friend of mine, that he and I built this apartment guide publishing company from 75 to he sold it in 89 for the first time, and with a $1,500 loan from his dad, and then sold it for like $38 million. And his constant attitude everybody had to adhere to was never be 100% satisfied with your best efforts. There's always better, there's always more. Once you are 100% satisfied, you get complacent.
Absolutely.
And that company, with that attitude, doubled in size every year for the first 10 years, and before we sold it in 89, from 81 to 88, had a 783% growth rate.
Wow.
By not becoming complacent. You're constantly looking at it, you're constantly revising it, you're constantly trying to better your game, and that's obviously that's what happened, and then you refer to in the chapter. It's just I'm good, I'm the best, I've arrived.
It's
right?
a trap. It's the champion's trap, man.
Champion's trap.
And it reminds me of a lot of people don't like how Steve Jobs ran Apple.
Yeah.
But he was always looking for the next best thing. And you hear some of his former employees talk about what it was like to work for him. They were like, it's a nightmare. Because he would come up to us with impossible ideas. And we would tell him that's impossible, and he'd look at us and say, no, figure it out. Because as soon as we think there's no more ways to get better, someone else will figure it out. And so I did a study on Steve Jobs when I was a senior in college. And I love the mindset that he had. Now, he maybe was somewhat harsh on his employees, but he made people believe that nothing is impossible. And that's what we have to realize. And in sports, like, okay, you think that you're the best? Well, it's not impossible for someone else to come overtake you, so you better keep putting in the work.
That's right. There's always somebody right behind you.
Yeah.
And when you spoke to our Lunch and Learn, what I remembered the most was how many times you failed. How how many things you didn't win and didn't place, and injuries, and before you got to where you're going, but you refused to give up. You refused to quit because you had that vision of where you wanted to be, and that story made a profound impact on everybody who's at our lunch and learn that day, especially me. I often heard it said that it was a victory, there had to be a battle.
Yeah.
And nothing comes easy, and nothing's just what you think it's going to be, right? It always takes longer, and it's always more expensive, right? But to get to where you're going, but you just refuse to quit. You refuse to give up. And we just drove by Chi today on my way from the Woodlands, Farouk Shami, and he's the hair care and the
non-ammonia hair color.
Yeah, and he was told by Clairol and L'Oreal, he'll never be
You're not
successful.
supposed to know how to say all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He called them both and said, we're not interested in the product you developed, and you're not going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's hurting
Billions
of dollars from something that everybody told him, you're not going to be successful. Corey and Millie with their business model I met with today, they were told, your business now, helping people no money and bad credit in real estate.
Corey Millie,
Camera Diner, newhomeprograms.com. They were told by the chairman of HAR, your business model is horrible. You are not going to be successful.
Working with first-time home buyers.
Home buyers with no money and bad credit.
Yeah.
And
no realtor wants to work with that kind of people. You either get
and they
credit,
specialize in that, and they've done very well.
and they have their own
awesome.
their own secured credit card now, and they have their own mortgage company. So, but it's the diversity. It's how hard it is to achieve that goal to get you there. So, Marla.
Your why has to be greater than your desire to quit.
Indeed, yes it does.
And there isn't a single person on the planet that has had a big ambitious goal that they haven't wanted to quit multiple times along the way while trying to accomplish that goal. But if you have an image and a vision and a why in your mind that you can't get out, and it's something that you are constantly reminded of, when that moment comes that you want to quit, if that why is big enough, you emotionally and mentally, you just can't. You can't stop what you're doing. It's like a pursuing that dream. It's like a drug, and you have to have it because you've tasted it maybe, and you have to just keep moving forward. And so, my why, which I found when I was 10 years old by watching the Olympic Games and seeing people win a medal, I had that image in my head and I couldn't get it out. So every time I thought, you know what, I'm done, I want to quit, it's over, I kept seeing myself one day being able to have that medal placed over my neck. And I think it's like, these companies that we're talking about right now, they had an image when they started in their minds of where they were going to go, and they needed to get there. And like I said, it's like that drug you have to have. You can't live without. You're addicted to it, and you're not going to stop until you keep getting more of it and keep getting further and further along.
And what you said about failure, and so many people will be in a business, and something goes wrong, and they shoot themselves for it instead of saying it's not they start saying they're a failure instead of saying, oh, it's just a learning thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that again. I'll learn. It should be every time something doesn't go the right way, people automatically want to call themselves a failure. Just because it didn't work doesn't make one a failure. Look at how many times Thomas Edison looked to get the right filament. Over 1,000 tries were not correct. Didn't make him a failure. Just learn what not to use again.
Every cover story we've had has had that element of failure, couldn't do it, told they weren't going to be able to do it, and just by not giving up, right? From Maria Rios, from the Nation Waste, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Swapnil Agrawal was a property management company, came here with no money from India, and then he's got 38 apartment communities. I mean, every one of these
Fletcher
every one of these faced defeat over and over and over again, and there's nothing like sustaining an injury as an athlete that literally puts you out of the game.
Yeah.
And makes you wonder, why am I doing this? And I know you've had that.
Yeah, I've had a lot of injuries. I'll share just because I've got something in my head before I tell you about the injuries. I with the failure stuff. It's interesting. Recently, I was speaking with with a company, and I was at one of their sales conventions. They brought all their top sales people in, and I spoke to them, and I had one of the sales guys say something to me one time that I was like, wow, that's mind blowing. I never thought of that before. And he was telling me about how many no's he gets. People tell him no after no after no, and he goes, you know what? I've learned to love a no. He said, you know why? Because every no I get means I'm one step closer to a yes.
Oh, yes.
And I love that mentality. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Failure it's necessary. It's important to get closer to where we want. And, speaking on injuries, it's kind of, I guess injuries are kind of, you can relate to that as well, because in sports, if you want to get to the top level, you've got to push yourself so hard that you're going to have a setback physically. And if you aren't pushing yourself to the limit, to the extreme, and you never experience any kind of pain, discomfort, or failure due to that discomfort, you're not training hard enough. You're not pushing yourself to the limit. And yeah, towards the end of my career, I was, my sport's not one of longevity at all. Most people retire when they're around 21, 22 years old. And I wasn't done. I wasn't finished. I hadn't finished what I started. And so I kept pushing, and I made another Olympic team at the age of 26, went to the 2012 Olympics. And after that, people were like, hey man, you're old for gymnastics, you should probably stop. And I was like, no, I want more.
Is your son one of the competitors? Right?
Yeah. So, but I kept telling everybody, I was like, I want more. I've got a bronze and a silver medal from the Olympics. I still want gold. And when I made the decision to push for the 2016 games, everybody thought it was crazy. And that's when my body looked at me and was like, you're crazy. Because that's when I fell apart. After the games in London, I ended up having 3 foot surgeries. I had a major reconstructive shoulder surgery on my right shoulder where they replaced or repaired pretty much everything. Labrum, rotator cuff muscles, bicep, did bone work, pec, everything. And then as soon as I came back from that a little over a year later and the foot injury, I thought, all right, clear sailing from here. Time to push for the 2016 games. And then I tore my pec on my left side and had to have another surgery. And then I came back from that. I was like, all right, here we go. Like, I feel good now. Everything's fixed. And my doctor told me several times, he was like, would you just stop? And I was like, no, I feel good. Thanks for fixing me. Yeah. And people couldn't believe I just kept going. And then 9 months before the Olympics in 2016, I was in the best shape of my entire life. And I was actually doing pommel horse in a cold, dark gym all by myself at 7 a.m. one morning. And I jumped up and I'm swinging around the pommel horse, and I felt a pop, a tear, and a burn sensation in my left shoulder. Couldn't lift my arm, and I knew it was all over. And so, 6 surgeries in a 4-year period, 4 years or less, and I knew I had given it everything I possibly could. And I think that's so important. It was so important for me to be able to walk away from my career knowing that I literally did it until my body could not do it anymore. And I am able to leave the sport with that sense of satisfaction. Like, I left it all out on the table. I crossed every T, dotted every I, turned every analogy you could think of. I left no stones unturned. And in the end, I can walk away and say, yeah, I never won a gold medal. And I got hurt a lot, and I fell a lot, but I did some pretty cool stuff in my career.
Yeah, and you made it to the Olympics. How many people can say,
Exactly.
I even walked on the arena of the Olympics? How many people can say that?
Exactly, and it's exactly what my coach told me when I was 6. I stuck around for the long haul as long as I possibly could, and when 99.9% of the people in my career were gone, I was still there, and in the end, I could say I was pretty great. And I feel like I can say that without being cocky and arrogant.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that's what I am trying to teach all the young people today. You've got so many people that they pick a profession and it's not going so well their first year or 6 months and a year, and they're like, oh, I'm going to another one. And then they I don't like this one either. I'm not a millionaire in my first year. Oh, I'm still not a millionaire in 5 years. And these people have this idea of get rich quick or get rich fast. And I'm sitting here going, it took me 28 years of gymnastics to finally be able to look back and go, okay, I'm pretty good. And it's the same thing in life in general, not just my sport.
Wow.
And then there's American Ninja Warrior.
Well, wait,
Yeah.
but
What?
before you go into that,
Okay.
how about the book? Tell us where people can get your
Yes,
book.
so let's talk about the book.
Yeah, so here's the book. It's called If I Had Known. I actually,
Very
Did you
Um,
run? Yeah.
yeah, so
Hold it up.
you can see the book right there. Yes, I put a picture of myself on the front without my shirt on.
That'll appeal to some ladies.
But it's I just thought it was a cool picture, and I was like, let's go with
It's a
it.
great
But anyways, so I was actually doing an interview right when I retired. I did an interview, and I got a question that I'd never received before, and it was, well, now that you're retired, what do you know now that you wish you'd known when you were a kid? And I was like, huh, I never thought of that. Like, this sport definitely taught me a lot of stuff, and so I went home, started jotting some ideas down on paper, and before I knew it, I had a book in front of me. And it's a quick, easy read. It's just life lessons that I picked up that are, applicable to athletes, young, ambitious people that want to be entrepreneurs, older people that are entrepreneurs, or business people that want to just better themselves and their mindset. It's a mindset book. That's really all it is. And it's my life with really important lessons behind it. And there's emotional stories, there's exciting stories, there's how I got into the sport, how I kept myself motivated, which that's a whole other topic because I think motivation is it's fake. So many people want to live their lives being motivated. How do I get motivated? How do I keep myself going forward? And I'm like, you know what? Motivation is so temporary, which is why you got to find something that you love to do. And when that motivation's gone and you don't want to do it, you do it anyways. And so it's stuff like that I'm so passionate about teaching people, because I don't think that there's enough mentors today for our young people. There's not enough people reaching out a hand and saying, let me help you succeed. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are writing books, Tony Robbins, and they're great books, and Jack Canfield and all this stuff, teaching how to be successful, but no one's specifically saying, hey kids, let me talk to you. Let me tell you what you're not learning right this second. And that's why I had such a passion to write this.
It's great.
But it's for any age.
It's for any age, yes, but
it's
you'll
getting
see
started
that
at the young age can still appreciate it.
it's, like I said, I wrote it in a very simple way to understand and to read. I'd say a fifth grader could read this and get a lot out of it. And I wanted it to be for everybody. And as I was writing it, you can hear my voice, you can hear the way I speak in this book. And I hope everybody that reads it at the end of it, they go, wow. I was able to just go into the mind of an Olympian for 126 pages of a book, and some of that's going to help me out.
Would you like to submit a chapter or a synopsis of a chapter to go to the next issue of Small Business Today magazine, and then your bio at the end will give the link on where they can get the book?
Absolutely, that'd be great. I can
That's a
definitely
great
do that.
idea.
And so, actually, yeah, where you can get the book, you can buy it on Amazon. It's $12.95 on Amazon. Or you can go to my personal website, which is jonathanhorton.net, and I've got a shop link that you can click at the top. And if you would like a signed personal copy, I sell those for $20 directly from my website. I sign it, I leave you a little note, put my name at the bottom, and it's yours. I send it to you directly.
I don't know if you remember that.
There it is, yes.
There's the ad.
Yeah, we got an ad in here. You guys put some great stuff in your
We sure do.
magazines.
But if you'd like to submit a chapter just on a Word doc, we'll put it in there with your photo. We'll have a link to the book. I think any one of the chapters would be great meat for a startup entrepreneur or small business owner. And make no mistake about it, we have multi-billionaires who read the magazine.
Yeah.
They're small business by number of employees only. It's certainly not by income or size. It's just number of employees, 500 or less.
And if
So-
anybody wants to subscribe to Small Business Today magazine, go to
Magazine.
sbtmagazine.net or smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com, and like us on Facebook under Small Business Today
And
magazine.
you'll see all the events, our lunch and learn coming up on the 13th, our next meet and mingle at Phil and Derek's on March the 4th, and then the next one is April the 1st. And
It's a great business for small business owners, and
small
it's free
business
to
owners. We
attend.
want the executive vice president of ExxonMobil show up. He's not gonna be welcome. It's all about business owners.
Small business
You
owners.
gotta own it to show up, and we introduce them to a nonprofit, and we introduce them to an organization that empowers small business owners.
And everybody's introduced to each other we hold them by the hand and make those great
We make
introductions.
those introductions.
Instead of people wandering
Nobody
around.
does an event like that.
Yeah,
It's
Nobody.
so great. I mean, networking is so important.
but to help them actually break the ice and say, here, you wanna meet this person, we make these personal introductions at
Yeah,
our
Make
events.
sure
So
that they get somebody to meet that they're gonna do business with. Because when you walk in a network event, you don't know anybody, you don't have to break in a conversation, and they're all like pods of people, they seem to be having a good time. I don't know anybody, and somebody just go right out the door again. So, but let me get back to my American Ninja Warrior,
Yeah.
how you transitioned from Olympian to, and what you do to American Ninja Warrior, because I think the coolest video anywhere, other than all the injuries, that the whole, you have a whole thing, here's every place I've hurt myself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I put it right there for people to see on
Yeah, I just wanna
on
know,
YouTube.
what difference aren't you gonna hurt yourself again, by going into doing the Ninja Warrior? I mean, what's the difference now?
So I'll tell you what, Ninja Warrior. First off, I got into it. I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's kind of like the '06 World Championship story. I was watching Ninja Warrior on TV and I was like, I can do that. I was so cocky and arrogant. I was like, I'm gonna go on this show. I'm gonna win. Everybody's gonna be blown away. This is so easy. Can't believe people are falling off these obstacles. And then I go on the show. Oh, I got a big old chunk of humble pie. And so I went my very first season on the show. It's so ironic. I was at the time the 5th ranked gymnast in the entire world on the rings. Rings and high bar were my 2 best events, and so at the World Championships that year, I was the 5th best guy. And then I go on to Ninja Warrior, and can you guys guess what obstacle I fell off of?
Rings.
It's called the ring toss.
Yeah.
And it's these rings that you hang on to, and you gotta move them. And
Right, you got.
I got tired and I flew off, and I was like, "This is the most embarrassing thing in the history of anything."
And the whole family was there, right?
Huh?
The family was there.
Oh, my family was there, my friends were there, and I'm in the water wet, looking up at the obstacle, just thinking, "Are you serious?" And
You're
so.
my best guy.
Yeah,
Right?
I was like, yeah, like I was looking at the obstacle like, you and me, we were supposed to get through this. And so then I had a whole new appreciation for how hard it is. And some of the athletes on Ninja Warrior are some of the best athletes I've ever been around. Super strong, super powerful, very sharp mentally, and I got into it just like I said, because I thought it was gonna be easy and fun. Now I do it because it's a challenge that I have yet to overcome, and I've been on 5 seasons now, and I've fallen in the water on all 5 seasons. And well, another one, I consider myself an expert on a trampoline. I've been jumping on trampolines, learning. We do a lot of stuff on trampolines in my sport. And my 2 seasons ago, I was flying through the course, and there was a trampoline. I hit it, my legs buckled up underneath me.
Oh no.
Went flying in the water, and I was like, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
But anyways, I love it. It's fun. But back to your question about getting hurt, it's pretty safe, and I say that, and I knock on wood here, but compared to gymnastics, I think it's very safe. I actually did sprain my ankle on the show a couple years ago, but it wasn't anything too bad. There are some knee injuries from time to time. Someone will fly off and hit the water weird, twist their ankle in the water. But, it's nothing like gymnastics where people are blowing out their shoulders, or I wouldn't say that there's a chance of landing on your head. You shouldn't be flipping in Ninja Warrior. If you're doing flips, you're doing something wrong. But it's relatively safe. And it's a blast, and the community of people are so much fun to be around.
The wall.
Yeah.
It become your logo. Hanging the J and hanging from the wall. I was the first attempt, like, not quite. And it's like 3 times your height.
Yeah.
Did you have any doubt that you get to the top of it?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
look at that. Oh my God, look how tall that is.
So
He
if
was
you
the
ever,
shortest man to scale the warped wall.
yes, shortest man that's ever scaled a wall, and so that's kind of one of my claims to fame. But the first time I ever got to the wall was my 2nd season, and I remember staring at it. And if you ever see one in person, it's so intimidating. And you're looking at it, and you're just like, "There's no way." And you just have to run at it and see what happens. And so that's what I did, and I missed it twice. I had one more shot. You only get 3 chances, and I grabbed the top, and I was so excited. And the wall, they always put it right in front of where the hosts are, Matt Eisman and Akbar Bajabiamila. And I remember grabbing the wall, and I just let go with one hand, and I just looked at him, and I started screaming, and I was flexing.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, John Horton, shortest man ever up the wall. Yeah. And someone snapped a picture of it. And I remember they showed me the picture, and it was me hanging on the wall on one arm, flexing, my shirt's off, and the hosts are yelling at me, everyone's going crazy, and I was like, that would be a cool logo.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
And that's on the shirts.
Yeah, so if you go to my website, I have shirts. By the way, I wanted to bring you guys some shirts, but I'm fresh out of your sizes. All right, so I went through all of them and I didn't have any.
That's okay.
So, but I'll order some more.
Cool.
And so, but yeah, I've got my logo on the front of the shirt. I actually, my shirts all say Horton Athletics. I've started a little brand of Horton Athletics. My logo in the front says JH. You'll see a guy hanging off the J. But
I love how that.
That's
Yeah.
I knew exactly where they came from.
Yeah, so.
wonderful. And how tall is that wall?
So it used to be 14. That was too easy for everybody. So they bumped up to 14 and a half. I have a feeling they may bump it to 15 this year. But last year, for $10,000, right next to the 14 and a half footer, which was standard, they had an 18-foot warped wall. And if you made it up, you got 10 grand. I think 4 guys did it. And it was incredible. One of my good buddies, a guy named Daniel Gill, made it up to 18-footer, and I mean grabbed it by, like, if you had little hairs on the tips of your fingers, that's what he grabbed it by. I mean, and he hung on, and it's like the lights went or the fireworks went everywhere, and it was spectacular. I was there, I got to see it live. It was crazy.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'1".
Okay, you've got an inch on me.
Six guys have beat the
so
warp
we've
wall,
had 6 guys make it up the 18-foot warp wall.
including Daniel Gill.
That was what was inspiring thing to me is see you make that wall.
That's exciting.
And the thing that bothers me the most is the injury clips. Just see, I fell off this one.
Oh yeah. Well, I always tell people my best injury clip is beware, not suitable for work. Go type in on YouTube Jonathan Horton high bar crash. And there's a video of me doing a double backflip over the bar, catching the bar, immediately going into another double backflip with a full twist, and my nose hit the bar.
Oh.
So I ended up breaking my nose, and you know it's crazy. Actually, I was laying on the ground, my nose is just pouring out blood. And not to be too graphic here, but this lady comes running out of the stands at this competition. This was 2007, by the way, at our Winter Nationals. And she comes running out, and she goes, "Nobody touch him." And I'm sitting there going, "Somebody do something," because I'm bleeding like crazy. My nose is like 1.5 inches off to the side.
Oh.
And she goes, "I'm a doctor, and I work with boxers almost daily. We got to pop his nose back into place right now." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" We're going to do what right here?
Say what?
And she's like, "Don't move." And without even asking me, she just pops it back into place. And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, no." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "It's not all the way in."
Oh.
And she had to do it again. And I kid you not, there's probably 5,000 people in the arena watching this. And the kids are like, "Yeah," and they're going crazy as he's popping my nose back into place. And the video, some jerk decided to make this video and put it to the Rocky music.
Oh no.
Eye of the Tiger. And so it's funny and it's entertaining. If you want to be entertained for about 1.5 minutes, go watch that video.
I mean, I've had little gymnastic injuries. One that they were teaching me the skill called skin the cat.
Yeah.
And it's where you swing over the high bar. You're supposed to slide your legs over the lower bar, except somebody forgot to spot me. This is the first time I'm learning
Oh
this.
no.
So I fractured my shins.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was skin the cat, skin all the shin,
Yeah.
everything off your
The
shins.
skin, the no skin. It's the no
there's
skin
no
cat.
skin. Oh, so
Well,
yes, I can. It's terrible.
What entertaining to me was watching Barbara interview you for our Health and Wellness magazine, and you're on the next cover, and every injury you described, she's like, "Oh yeah, I know that one. Did you have
Yeah,
to do
Jordan
that?"
read
And she was feeling it as I
She
was
was
explaining
feeling
it.
People say, "I feel your pain."
Yeah, no, yeah.
She's
Did
had
you
it.
do that exercise for therapy?
Yeah.
It was like,
Barbara's been broken up in every possible way, and fortunately from severe car wreck
and also sports.
and sports, so she understands. We only have a few minutes left, probably about 3, 3?
Yeah.
Tell me what you want, your legacy, what you want to be known for. And what are you most proud of?
I think I have a couple legacies that I want to be known for. As an athlete, I want to be known as the guy that put his team first, no matter what. That when I competed, people saw that it wasn't about me. It was about the other men standing out, on the side. And that's a big transition for me from the cocky young gymnast that I used to be to the guy who realized I had so much more power in what I was doing when I wasn't doing it for myself. And my greatest competitions were when I was performing, and although I was the one guy swinging around the high bar, I was thinking to myself throughout that entire routine, this matters for those other men. The score that I'm about to put up matters for those guys that aren't doing their routine right now. So I want my legacy to be the ultimate team player. I think now my career as a speaker and an author and all the different things that I'm doing these days, I want to be known as the guy who gives people hope. My story is, I always tell people, I wasn't some kind of childhood prodigy. I wasn't like Michael Phelps, who had a world record at the age of 9. I wasn't like Simone Biles, who people could see from the early ages she was going to be the most powerful gymnast on the planet. I was that kid that people looked at and went, he's not going to become an Olympian.
No.
He's like, that's not going to happen. So when I share my story with people, I want to be known many years from now as someone who just was able to light up a crowd and give everybody a sense of hope that, wow, you know what, I'm kind of like Jonathan Horton. I'm not even close to my goals, but if I just keep going, I've got a shot, just like he did. And yeah, just never quit attitude. And like I said earlier, your why has to be bigger than your desire to quit.
And you've always had the support of your love of your family, your mom, your dad, and your wife, your kids.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're 100%. I love that story where she wanted nothing to do with you when you first met her, right?
Oh, my wife?
Yeah.
Oh, she wanted nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
No, but I'm persistent.
You have children now, right?
I do. I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. Actually, my little girl turns 3 on February 9th, so just a few days from now.
Now, with the
Right.
background between your wife and yourself, how is she involved in gymnastics?
Yeah, so, my wife was actually head coach of a gymnastics program for a while. She now owns a children's clothing company, but my little kids, my son's in the gym being coached by my former coach, and my little girl so my daughter is also in the gym, and it's so interesting. I don't understand how it all works, but my son, he's got like this crazy strength, and my daughter is super flexible, but she's weak, and my son has no flexibility. I wish I could combine them together and they'd be the ultimate.
Hopefully each one will teach each other.
Yeah,
That's right. Right.
of course.
But they're there for you. And by the way, if you do me a half-page ad promoting the book, I'll put it in there too. You've been such a good friend to Barbara and I, and to Small Business Day magazine, and while we wait for the next health and wellness April issues, we'll have an ad, and hopefully your editorial in there too.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. You guys have been so great to work with. What you guys do for the business community is so great. There's not a lot of people that are reaching out wanting to give back to the small business community, and I think it's so important, especially somebody whose wife has a small business.
Yes.
I understand.
Let's give a shout out to her website and the name of her company. Let's do that.
Yeah, so her company's called Carlee and Dash, CARLEE and Dash.com.
Okay.
And she does children's clothing. And it was funny, a couple of years ago when she got started, I was giving her a hard time because she was complaining that she couldn't find any children's clothing to fit our kids that she thought was trendy and inexpensive. Those little girls' dresses that are $80 that they outgrow in 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I looked at my wife and I said, well, why don't you do something about it? And so she did, and now she's got a trendy kids clothing company, and nothing's over $30. It's great.
Nice.
Wow.
Now, again, how can people get your book?
Yeah, so again, Amazon, you can buy it for $12.95, or go to my website, jonathanhorton.net, and I will personalize a copy and send it to you directly.
And it's If I Had Known.
If I had known, I'd known better.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Life
right.
Lessons from an Olympic Pro Athlete. And again, it's Jonathan Horton, for anybody looking for the book.
There you go. And again, if you want to subscribe to Small Business Day magazine, it's sbtmagazine.net.
Or smallbusinessdaymagazine.com.
And all of our back issues are available on the website, archived there for you to review. Great editorial inspiring cover stories. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's about. It's about, again, people that started with nothing, build something big, and they give back to the community.
That's
If
right.
they're not giving back, we don't even want to
Every
consider
cover
them.
story has their words of wisdom, the takeaway notes, as if you,
Yeah,
if you.
best words of advice are at the end of every story, so if you
That's
don't
the
want
most
to read
important.
how they started, where they grew up, and what motivated them, just their best words of advice, people can make a Bible of business from, just go to those.
Compendium of business, you call it.
Compendium of business, yes, you
They're
could
called
do.
a, SBA, what
A
is it?
small business, yes, the SBA program,
In print or
in
something like
print
that.
or something
yeah.
like that.
So it's been such a pleasure having Jonathan on the show. We wish you much success with your book, and love to
What-
have you back anytime.
And again, when, are you gonna be on American Ninja Warrior anytime soon?
We'll see. Season 11 is coming up soon, so you guys are gonna have to just keep an eye out for me.
We
I'm
will
not
do.
allowed to tell anybody what happens. We're sworn to secrecy on Ninja
Okay.
Warrior.
Okay, so you've already participated?
I can't tell you that or not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Let it go,
okay.
Bob, we can't tell you.
Can
Let
you
it
tell us
go.
when you're intending to try and be on TKO?
There you go. But yeah, this has been a great show today. Thank you all for being part of it. Thank you, Jerome Davis, our engineer extraordinaire, right?
Right,
And Central Reed for the use of facility at Creed Global Media, right?
right.
And yes, Lunch and Learn on February 13th
At the
at the
Wyndham,
Wyndham Energy Corridor. And our next meet and mingle is March the 4th
at Phil and Derek's at 1701 Webster Street in Houston.
We got plenty of places to make introductions for you and help you build your business. But you need to copy that book, I'm positive. Jonathan Horton. And you've been listening to Small Business Day Magazine Talk Show on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.